My name is Jake, and I used to think fear was something you could reason with, something you could talk yourself out of. But that changed a few months ago, on a cold walk home from work, when I saw something that never should have existed. It wasn't a hallucination, or a prank, or some street performer out too late. It was something else. Since that night, I've learned that when something wrong looks back at you, when it knows your name before you ever speak it, the only thing left to do is survive it. Listen carefully, because this isn't just another story. It's a warning. I remember the night like it's still looping somewhere, frozen in that dim stretch between exhaustion and silence. I just clocked out of the cafe where I worked, the same dull hum of machinery in my ears, the same smell of burnt espresso clinging to my jacket. It was close to midnight, the streets of Elmbrook mostly empty, just the occasional car rolling past with its headlights dragging shadows over the pavement. I had my earbuds in, humming a song I'd heard earlier on the radio, or at least a cover of it. The kind that tries too hard to sound new. I was thinking about the original, playing it in my head instead, one note at a time. When I passed by the mouth of an alleyway. That's when I saw him. A figure, standing in the dark. A man dressed like a clown, holding an umbrella, humming softly to himself. He was swaying side to side, like a child trying to remember a tune. The umbrella spun slowly in his hand, catching the weak orange light from the street lamp, just enough for me to see the pale outline of his face. Something inside me froze. It wasn't fear at first, just confusion. The kind you feel when you see something that doesn't belong. I slowed down, just a few steps, enough to glance down the alley again. He was still there, still humming. Then he stopped, and when he turned toward me, my stomach dropped. His face, it wasn't right. The skin looked stretched, like someone had drawn it too thin over the bone. His eyes didn't even reflect light, they were flat, like dark windows. His mouth hung open in a crooked shape, wide and uneven, almost like the frame of a door that had been warped by rot. Every instinct screamed at me to keep walking, but then, somehow, I heard him speak. "Can't you see me?" he said. The words didn't move his mouth. They just arrived, sharp and distant, like they'd skipped the air between us and went straight into my skull. "Aren't you smiling?" The sound of his voice made my stomach twist. It was high, almost dizzy, and there was something off about the way the words hit. Like the sound came before the meaning, and the meaning came too late. I just stood there, stunned, before blurting out the first thing that came to mind. "Excuse me." He didn't reply. He just went back to humming, spinning the umbrella again, like I hadn't spoken at all. I don't know why I didn't run. Maybe I was too tired, maybe I was trying to make sense of it. I told myself he was just some creep, maybe drunk, maybe crazy, and I turned away. I walked faster than before, every step echoing too loud, the beat of my shoes trying to drown out the memory of that humming. Still, I couldn't shake the image, that twisted face, those flat eyes. The doorway mouthed. I didn't look back. I didn't have to, because I could feel him, standing there in the dark, watching me leave. When I finally got to the next intersection, I stopped under the streetlight and looked around. There was no one else out. Just me, the sound of the wind through the wires, and a faint melody drifting from somewhere. The same tune I'd heard him humming. I pulled my jacket tighter and kept moving. By the time I reached my apartment, the city had gone quiet again. My building sat at the edge of town, a gray, cracked block with a flickering hallway light and a broken intercom that buzzed at random. Home. I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was nothing, just a weird encounter. I've seen plenty of weirdos around Elmbrook. But when I stepped into my apartment, something felt Wrong, the air was still. Thicker than usual. Like the place had been waiting for me. I tossed my keys onto the counter, turned on the TV for background noise. Static. Just static. I tried another channel. Same thing. Every station dead. I turned it off. Out of habit, I looked out my window. Across the street stood an old house, the kind that always looked empty. But tonight, the way the lights hit it, the windows looked like eyes. The door looked like a mouth. I blinked and shook my head. Get a grip, I whispered to myself. I closed the curtains. That's when the TV turned back on. I froze. The plug wasn't even in the wall. But there it was, the screen glowing faint blue, and on it a man's face. Mid-40s maybe, pale, hollow eyes, lips twitching open and shut like a broken puppet. He started speaking, his words mechanical, looping, like a corrupted tape. He called John a serial killer. He called Jane a cannibal. He called John a serial killer. He called Jane a cannibal. I tried to mute it. Nothing. Tried the buttons on the box. Nothing. Pulled the plug again. Still playing. He called John a serial killer. He called Jane a cannibal. Over and over. I shouted at the screen. Who? No response. Just that same flicker, same rhythm. Then, from somewhere behind the sound, another voice, high, distorted, familiar, whispered through the room, "Don't look in the mirror." My heart stopped. It was the same voice I'd heard in the alley. The clown's voice. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I just stared at the static flickering around that pale face. "Don't look in the mirror," the voice repeated, fading, warping, like it was coming from the walls. And for the first time that night, I wondered if maybe the man in the alley hadn't been real, or if he was still here, somewhere I couldn't see. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, on the edge of the bed, staring at the unplugged TV that had finally gone dark. The apartment felt colder than usual, like the walls had started breathing with me. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the pipes, felt alive. Like something was listening through them. When dawn came, I was still awake. My eyes burned. The city outside was painted in that sick, gray light that makes everything look unreal, like you're trapped in someone else's dream. I made coffee. Didn't drink it. Just watched the steam drift up, thinking about what I'd seen. The clown in the alley. The voice in the TV. The phrase that kept replaying in my head, "Don't look in the mirror." I didn't know what it meant, but the warning sat heavy in my chest. Around 8, I forced myself to get ready for work. I needed normal. Routine. People. Anything that wasn't the silence of this apartment. As I left, I passed by the small mirror hanging beside the door, the one I always used to check my hair before heading out. I hesitated. The words echoed again. "Don't look in the mirror." I almost laughed. Almost. Then, just to prove something to myself, I glanced into it anyway. For a second, everything looked normal. Just me. Same tired eyes. Same gray hoodie. Then, behind me, in the reflection, movement. A flicker. Like someone stepping out of frame. I spun around. Nothing there. The hallway was empty, the air still. When I looked back at the mirror, I could have sworn my reflection was just a little off. The angle of my head didn't match. The mouth slightly open, like it wanted to say something. I blinked, and it corrected itself. I left without another look. The streets of Elmbrook felt different in daylight, quieter, somehow. The same alley where I'd seen the clown looked empty, but the image wouldn't leave my head. I could still hear that humming, soft and strange, like it was caught under my skin. At work, my manager asked if I was sick. I told her I hadn't slept. She laughed, told me to stop watching horror movies. I smiled back. She didn't notice that my hands were shaking. The day dragged on. Every time I passed a reflective surface, a window, a metal counter, a pot, I caught myself flinching, expecting to see something else. Around noon, while I was refilling the pastry case, the cafe's TV flickered on. Nobody touched the remote. Static. Then a familiar voice, warped, low, glitching. He called John a serial killer. He called Jane a cannibal. My breath hitched. "Hey," my manager said from the back. "The hell's wrong with the feed?" Before I could answer, the static shifted. The words bled together, distorted, and then, a whisper under the noise, my name. Jake. I dropped the tray. The customers turned to look, but all I could hear was that whisper, dragging through the static. "Don't look in the mirror." The manager walked up, grabbed the remote, hit the power button. Nothing. The TV stayed on, white snow flickering across the screen like a swarm of ghosts. "Unplug it," she muttered. I did. Still running. Then, just for a moment, the image changed. A face appeared, buried under the static. Pale. Hollow-eyed. The same man from last night, and behind him, in the blur of pixels, something moved. Something smiling. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. My manager shouted, "Jake, what are you doing?" But I couldn't answer. I was staring at the TV as it crackled and hissed, the man's lips twitching open again. "Smile," he said, and then the screen went black. I left early that day. I didn't even wait for permission. I just walked out into the cold, dizzy air and kept walking until the cafe was far behind me. My phone buzzed with missed calls, but I couldn't bring myself to answer any. When I finally got home, the apartment was dark again. I didn't turn on the lights. Didn't move. Just stood there by the door, listening. Somewhere in the distance, faint, almost like memory, that same humming floated through the silence. I followed it, step by step, until I realized it was coming from my bathroom. My heart started pounding. I already knew what I'd find. The mirror. It was fogged, like someone had been standing there breathing against the glass. Slowly, I reached out, wiped it clean with my sleeve. For a second, I saw myself again. Then the reflection smiled, but I didn't. It was wide, slow, unnatural. The corners of my mouth stayed still, but the thing in the mirror kept smiling wider, like it was proud of something. And then, as the air grew colder, I saw movement behind the reflection, a shape leaning in, wearing something striped. An umbrella tip pressed against the glass. The clown's voice whispered through the mirror, soft as breath. "Now you see me." The next morning, I woke up on the floor. I don't remember lying down. My phone was still in my hand, the screen black, the battery dead. The sun cut through the blinds in thin, gray lines, striping my skin like prison bars. For a while, I didn't move. I just stared at the ceiling, listening for the hum. It wasn't there. No TV static. No whispers. Just silence, heavy and suffocating. I almost convinced myself it had all been a nightmare, almost. Then I saw it, written across the bathroom mirror in uneven streaks of condensation, like a finger had traced the words during the night. Round 2. I froze. The glass was still warm, as if someone had been standing there not long ago. That's when I started keeping notes, a kind of log. I didn't know what else to do. Writing made me feel like I had control, like I could make sense of it. I wrote everything, times, dates, sounds, reflections that didn't match. By noon, I'd filled half a page. I titled it The Reflection Game, because that's what it felt like. A game I didn't remember agreeing to play. The next rule appeared later that day. I was brushing my teeth when I saw a flash, like lightning, but inside the mirror. My reflection moved half a second before I did. My arm lifted, my mouth opened. It was like watching a video slightly out of sync. Then, faintly, under the sound of running water, I heard it whisper again. Your turn. I dropped the toothbrush. The reflection didn't. It just stared at me, its face dripping toothpaste and water. Head tilted slightly, like it was studying me. That's when I noticed something else. The same smudge, the same faint shape over my shoulder. The umbrella, closed this time. I reached back. Nothing there. When I looked forward again, the reflection had stopped copying me altogether. It was smiling again, mouth curling, slow and deliberate, and then it winked. The bathroom light flickered. The bulb buzzed, burned hot, and burst. Everything went dark. That night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Evan. We'd gone to college together, journalism majors, late nights editing footage, chasing ghost stories we thought were fun. He'd seen me at my worst before. Maybe he'd believe me now. When he answered, his voice was thick with sleep. Jake? Man, it's been a minute. I didn't bother with small talk. Something's wrong with my apartment. With my mirrors. He laughed softly. Mirrors? I told him everything. The clown. The static. The reflection that wasn't mine. The words on the glass. He didn't laugh after that. Jake, he said, quieter now. You're sure you're not sleepwalking? You sound, I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were. He hesitated. Look, maybe it's residual image persistence. When your brain's tired, reflections can Evan. It smiled before I did. Silence. Then, all right. I'll come by tomorrow. Bring my camera. We'll record everything, okay? For the first time in days, I felt a sliver of relief. Someone else would see it. Someone else would prove it wasn't in my head. That night, I stayed away from mirrors. I even covered the bathroom one with a towel. But as the hours dragged on, the apartment began to feel wrong again. The hum was back. Low, rhythmic. Almost like breathing. I followed it to the living room. The TV was unplugged, but static still crawled across the screen. Then, faintly, I saw my reflection, not on the glass, but inside it. It looked terrified. The sound deepened, crackling, whispering under the noise. Round 3. It said. I stumbled back, tripping over the coffee table. The screen flickered, showing flashes, me, asleep on the couch, me writing in the notebook, me standing right where I was now, and behind every image, that same pale man, closer each time. His umbrella was open now. The hum became a low, wet static, and through it, a single distorted voice. You're learning, Jake. Don't lose. Then the screen went black. The apartment was silent again, but the mirror in the hallway, the one I'd passed that morning, had fogged over, and this time, the words were clear. Bring him to. I didn't sleep. I waited for the sun, clutching my dead phone, staring at that covered bathroom mirror like it was a ticking bomb. By the time Evan knocked, I was half delirious. He took one look at me and frowned. You look awful, man. Just set up the camera. He hesitated, then did as I asked. A small handheld, same one we used for student projects. He pointed it toward the bathroom mirror, still covered. All right, he said, pressing record. Let's see what's got you so freaked out. I nodded and slowly pulled the towel away. The glass was clear. My reflection normal. Nothing, Evan sighed. You need sleep. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to say he was right. Then he froze. Wait, he whispered. I and the reflection. His hand was still holding the camera up, but in real life, he'd already lowered it. Our reflections were still recording us. The camera's red light blinked inside the mirror, even though the real one was off, and in that reflected frame, standing just behind us, was the clown, not smiling this time, just watching. We didn't say a word for almost a minute. Evan and I just stood there, staring at that mirror, at the reflection that didn't belong. The clown's face was pale, painted, but not like a circus performer. More like someone had smeared the makeup on with shaking hands. White patches, uneven streaks of red. No eyes. Just dark, wet holes where they should have been. He was holding something. The umbrella. The tip pressed against the back of my reflected neck, but in real life, there was nothing there. Then, the light bulb above us flickered. Once. Twice, Evan muttered, "This is a trick. It has to be." I didn't answer. My throat was dry, every word lodged behind the kind of fear that turns your body into stone. The reflection began to move. Not us, the reflection. It smiled, and then, as if the glass were a screen, it stepped backward, vanishing into darkness. Evan lowered the camera slowly. "Tell me you saw that." I nodded. He swallowed hard. Let's watch the tape." We sat on the couch with the lights off. The only glow came from his laptop screen as he connected the camera. I could hear the whirring, the faint static of recorded audio. The video opened. At first, it was normal, Evan adjusting the focus, me standing by the bathroom door. He tells me to uncover the mirror. I pull the towel down. Then, everything shifts. I end the footage. There's a faint shimmer in the glass. Barely visible, but there. And in that shimmer, movement. Evan leans forward. "Pause it." I do. Zoom in. I obey. The frame grows grainy, distorted, but we can both see it now. The reflection of someone standing behind us. "Jesus," Evan mutters. When I hit play again, the sound distorts. A low, vibrating hum fills the speakers, the same one from the TV, only louder, closer, angrier. Then, beneath it, a voice. "Don't break the glass." Evan slams the laptop shut. The sound keeps playing. The hum doesn't stop, even though the video's closed. It vibrates through the table, through the floor, through my skull. I cover my ears, but it's inside me now. Evan grabs the camera, rips the battery out. Nothing changes. The red recording light stays on, blinking like a heartbeat. He whispers, "Jake, it's still filming." I stare at the screen on the back of the camera. We're still there, but not us now. Us from the footage. Frozen in that moment before the reflection smiled. Then the image starts to move again, even though the lens cap is still on. I end the video. Evan looks at me, then his reflection grins, and the Evan sitting next to me whispers, "I didn't do that." We both jump to our feet, panic seizing every muscle. I grab the camera, intending to smash it, but the moment my hand touches the casing, something burns. Not heat, cold. My skin sticks to the metal for a second before I yank it away. There's a pale frost mark on my palm, shaped like a fingerprint. Evan's breathing quickens. "We're leaving." We rush to the door. But when I twist the knob, it doesn't turn. It's not locked, it's stuck, like something on the other side is holding it shut. Evan throws his shoulder into it. Once, twice. Nothing. Behind us, the bathroom light flickers on by itself. I turn. The towel I'd thrown aside is gone. The mirror is uncovered again, and the reflection isn't matching anymore. We're both facing the door, but in the mirror, our reflections are turned toward us, watching, and behind them, the clown closer now, almost touching. His mouth opens wider and wider until it stretches into an impossible grin, and through the soundless glass, I swear I can hear him laughing. Not loud, not manic, just soft. Pleased, Evan screams, grabs the nearest chair and throws it. The mirror shatters. The moment it does, the hum stops. The air goes still. The pieces of glass fall in slow motion, scattering across the tile like snow. We just stand there, gasping, staring at the empty frame. No reflection. No clown, nothing. Evan turns to me, shaking. You see? It's gone. It's the bathroom light flickers one more time. And the shards on the floor, our reflections blink. All of them, hundreds of tiny versions of us, blinking at once. And in each one, the clown is standing just a little closer. We ran. Didn't pack. Didn't speak. Just bolted out the door, down the stairwell, into the cold. I don't even remember locking up. Outside, everything felt wrong. The sky had that heavy, bruised tone that comes before a storm. People passed us, talking, laughing, completely unaware that the air itself felt poisoned. Evan clutched the camera to his chest. We need to go somewhere bright. Public. Somewhere with no mirrors. We found a 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. Neon lights. Chrome tables. Too many windows, but it was better than being alone. We sat in a booth near the back. Ordered coffee. We didn't drink. Neither of us spoke for nearly an hour. Finally, Evan said, I'm going to upload the footage. Just the part where it happens. Someone online will know what this is. I didn't argue. He opened the laptop, connected the camera, and started the transfer. Halfway through, the screen froze. Then, the reflection on the black laptop screen smiled, and behind it, the clown raised his umbrella. When people talk about cursed videos, they picture ghosts, filters, jump scares. They don't think about signal. They don't understand that sometimes the thing haunting you isn't inside the picture. It's inside the data itself. Evan hit upload at 3:42 a.m. We were still in the diner, the rain starting outside, soft against the windows. The video processed on his screen, that little spinning icon turning and turning, as if it were breathing. He didn't add a title. Didn't tag it. Didn't even look at me. He just said, if someone else sees it, we'll know it's not just us. I remember nodding. I remember feeling that same mix of dread and relief, like we were passing the infection along, freeing ourselves. But that's not how it works. The upload finished. The screen flashed white. For a second, the laptop's reflection shimmered, and the clown's grin appeared faintly in the glass, like a watermark. Evan slammed the lid shut. Done. We sat there in silence, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. At least, not right away. We left the diner before sunrise. The streets glistened with rain. The puddles reflected everything: neon lights, street signs, our faces, and I caught myself flinching from every shimmer of color. Evan booked us a cheap motel room a few blocks away. One of those old places with a buzzing neon vacancy sign and walls thin enough to hear every car that passed. Inside, there were mirrors everywhere. A big one over the sink, another above the desk. Even the black TV screen caught our reflections when it was off. Evan grabbed the bedsheet and covered the biggest mirror. There. No audience. He laughed a little when he said it, but it didn't sound like him anymore. That morning, his phone started blowing up. At first, I thought it was work. Then I saw the screen. You posted this. Bro, what is this video? That clown thing looks real. I asked this some ARG. Why is my mirror doing that? Evan's eyes darted back and forth, reading the comments, growing paler with every message. The video had been up for less than 2 hours. It already had hundreds of views. He scrolled down, muttering to himself. Then he stopped. There was a new comment, pinned automatically. Not by him. It just said, smile. He stared at it, then refreshed the page. The comment was gone. Did you? I started. He shook his head. No. It's like someone's inside the video. He looked at me then, really looked, and I realized how scared he was. How his hands trembled as he closed the app, shut off the Wi-Fi, and whispered, "It's out there now." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the clown's face behind my eyelids. That pale grin, that umbrella tapping against invisible glass. Around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of water dripping. I turned on the lamp. The bathroom door was cracked open. Inside, the light was on. I stood slowly. The dripping grew louder. When I pushed the door open, the sink was running. Evan stood in front of the mirror, staring. "Hey," I whispered. He didn't move. His reflection, though, it did. It turned to me, smiled, then looked back at him. Evan's lips trembled. "It's asking me to come closer." I grabbed his arm. "Don't." The lights flickered. He flinched. "It said it wants to show me something." I yanked him back hard. We fell against the wall. The mirror cracked down the center. For a moment, I thought I saw the clown's umbrella slide through the split, like something testing the boundary between us and it. Then the lights went out. When morning came, the mirror was whole again. No crack. No damage. Evan didn't talk much after that. He sat by the laptop most of the day, scrolling through comments, replies, reactions. People were posting screenshots of their reflections. Some showed faces that didn't belong. Others had the words "round 2" written in fog behind them. He muttered, "It's spreading. It's in their mirrors now too." "Delete the video," I said. "I can't." "Why?" He pointed at the screen. "Because it already deleted itself." I looked. The video was gone. Not private. Not removed. Just gone, like it had never existed. All that remained was a blank gray thumbnail, and underneath it, a counter still ticking upward. Views. 13,666. That number haunted me. I watched it climb every time I checked. Thousands. Tens of thousands. But the video wasn't there anymore. Just the counter, and a faint, looping sound that played if you turned your volume up all the way. A soft, rhythmic hum. The same one I'd heard in the static, in the TV, in my head. Evan finally looked up from the screen, eyes wide and wet. "Jake, do you hear it too?" I nodded slowly. He whispered, "Then we're all playing the same game now." And from somewhere inside the laptop, faint, distorted, came a voice we both recognized. Round 4. That night, the motel's neon sign flickered outside, bathing the room in sickly red light. I tried to sleep. Tried to believe it was just technology, an echo, a feedback loop, a trick of paranoia. But when I woke up hours later, Evan was gone. The laptop was open on the desk, showing the motel's security feed. On the screen, a single frame frozen in place. Evan, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, and behind him, the clown, one pale hand resting on his shoulder. The timestamp said 3:42 a.m., exactly 24 hours after the upload. Morning came, but the room felt wrong, still, heavy, too quiet for a place near a highway. The neon sign outside had gone dark. The red glow that used to seep through the blinds was gone, as if the light itself had been erased. Evan's bed was empty. The sheets perfectly flat, tucked in like no one had ever slept there. I checked the bathroom. Empty. His bag, His wallet, his keys, all gone. Only the laptop remained, still open, its fan humming softly, screen black but awake. When I touched the mouse, it flickered to life. The security feed had reset to live viewpoint, 4 panels showing 4 empty hallways, the parking lot, the reception desk, and in the corner of each a reflection, not clear, not human. Just the faint curve of a white grin, half hidden in static. I called his name. No answer. Opened the door, stepped into the damp morning air. The lot was empty, only a single car remained, covered in dew. The manager's office door was open. Inside, an old man sat behind the counter, his eyes fixed on the muted television above the desk. The TV was showing static. But beneath the noise, a voice whispered through the distortion. "Can't you see me? Aren't you smiling?" The man didn't blink, didn't move. I snapped my fingers in front of his face. Nothing. I turned off the TV. He exhaled a slow, shuddering breath and turned his head toward me. "You shouldn't have looked," he whispered. "Looked where?" He blinked once, in the mirror. My stomach dropped. I wanted to leave, but something about the way he said it, quiet, almost pleading, made me ask, "Did you see him too?" The old man's lips quivered. "He doesn't like names." "Who doesn't?" "The one who stands behind them," he said. His voice cracked. "The reflection is never behind you, son. It's beneath you." He looked down, suddenly terrified, as if something had moved under the desk. I backed away slowly. "Evan's missing," I said. "Do you have cameras outside?" He didn't answer. His eyes rolled back, and he slumped in his chair, still breathing, but shallow. I left him there. The street outside was washed gray in the morning light. I started walking. Every passing car window felt like an open eye. Every puddle, a waiting mouth. I didn't have a plan, just instinct. Move, keep moving, get away from reflections. But every store window mirrored me as I passed, a ghost version of myself walking in perfect rhythm. And then one reflection stopped. I didn't. I took 3 more steps before realizing that my reflection had stayed behind, still facing the glass. I froze. Its head tilted. Then it raised its hand and pointed behind me. I turned. There was no one there. When I looked back, the reflection was gone. Just an empty window showing the street. I found myself at the park, the same one I'd walked through days ago, the same skeletal trees swaying in the wind. The path was littered with leaves, soaked dark from last night's rain, and on the bench near the entrance, there was a phone. Evan's phone. I picked it up. The screen was cracked, but it turned on. There was one open message thread. No name, no number. Just a single message from yesterday. "If I disappear, don't follow me. He wants to trade." Trade? Before I could think, the screen flickered and a new message appeared, time-stamped now, round 5. The screen dimmed, and the front camera light turned on by itself. I saw myself, but not Liv. The reflection on screen was lagging, smiling a second too late, eyes unfocused, as if trying to mimic me. I threw the phone. It landed in the grass, still glowing faintly. The wind picked up, pushing dry leaves down the path, and in the distance I heard humming, that same soft, dizzy tune. I ran down the path, past the trees, toward the parking lot. The sound followed, light footsteps, matching mine. When I burst into the clearing, a single car waited there. It was Evan's. The driver's door was open, the seat empty. On the windshield, written in condensation, were 2 words: "Help him." I climbed in, trembling. His laptop bag was on the passenger seat. Inside it, A flash drive labeled Sycamore. I plugged it into the car's USB port. The stereo flickered, speakers popping. A voice came through. Not the clown. Not the TV man. Not John or Jane. It was Evan. I didn't mean to look, he said, his voice distant, echoing. It's not just mirrors, Jake. It's everything that reflects. Screens. Glass. Even water. Static swallowed the rest. Then, faintly, I heard something else beneath his voice, a whisper that seemed to crawl through the speakers. You traded places when you looked back. I turned off the ignition. But the car kept running, every surface, the windows. The rearview mirror, the screen darkened until they were pure black, and in each one, the clown appeared, umbrella tapping once, twice. He whispered, "It's your turn." I don't remember leaving the car, just the sound of rain starting again, and the reflection of red lights in the puddles around my feet, numbers forming in the water. A countdown, point 10.9.8. I closed my eyes. The sound of humming grew louder. I didn't know how long I walked. The rain had stopped, but the world felt soaked anyway. Every puddle reflected light that shouldn't exist, like some strange phosphorescence beneath the surface. The flash drive burned in my pocket, cold and heavy, as if it had weighed outside the laws of physics. Eventually, I reached a street I didn't recognize. Lampposts lined it like soldiers, flickering dim orange against the thick mist. The air smelled of wet leaves, burned paper, and something metallic. I kept walking. The houses were old, Victorian style, narrow, impossibly tall, windows too dark to see inside. All the doors were closed, but every reflection I passed smiled, even the puddles. The flash drive's instructions were clear if I wanted to see Evan again. I needed to plug it into a screen. I found a small, abandoned electronics shop. Dust-covered TVs lined the shelves, screens cracked, some flickering. I picked one with a screen still intact and connected the drive. The monitor hummed to life, displaying a static-filled map. Words appeared slowly, one after another. Follow the lights. Enter the space between. Sycamore Falls awaits. The static rippled, revealing a narrow alleyway that hadn't been there before. It was wet, slick, and smelled like iron. At the end of it, a dim glow pulsed. Something whispered my name. Jake. I swallowed hard and stepped forward. The alley stretched longer than it should have. Every brick reflected an impossible shade black, but moving, like liquid shadow. I heard footsteps behind me, not mine. Slow, deliberate, tapping on wet concrete. I stopped. Nothing. Then a low hum. The same one from the TV, the mirrors. Evan's phone. It wrapped around me, made my head spin, and suddenly, the alley opened into a vast forest. Twisted trees towered above me, skeletal branches scratching the thick fog. The ground was littered with leaves that seemed to whisper as I stepped on them. I froze. A figure stood in the distance. Not human. Tall, pale, and cloaked in shadow. The umbrella glinted, tipped slightly toward me. It was him. Thweep. Or the kidnapper. He didn't move. Didn't speak. The air between us pulsed with a heavy, almost sentient presence. A bridge appeared ahead, suspended above a black river that reflected stars that didn't exist. The kidnapper tilted his head. I stepped forward. The bridge creaked. And then a voice, faint but familiar, echoed from behind the trees. Jake, don't trust him. I spun. It was Evan. His face pale, lips blue, his eyes wide, frantic. He's feeding you, Evan shouted. It's not real. He's making you see what he wants. The kidnapper laughed, a soft, dizzy sound. The umbrella tapped once on the bridge. I felt a shiver run down my spine. Then he spoke, without moving his lips. You can see me, can't you? Aren't you smiling? I stumbled back. My foot hit a branch. Evan grabbed my arm. We have to go. Follow me. We ran into the fog, the forest twisting impossibly around us. Branches formed shapes, faces, mouths, eyes. Every reflection in the puddles showed him, closer than he should have been. Eventually, we reached a clearing. A small cabin, wood rotting, windows dark. But a faint golden light leaked from beneath the door. Evan whispered, "It's the portal. Sycamore Falls. This is where he brings them." The door opened slowly on its own. Inside, the walls were lined with mirrors, hundreds of them, each reflecting a different moment, a different victim, all trapped inside. Some were frozen in fear. Others stared blankly, mouths open, eyes wide, and in each one, the faintest outline of the clown, always behind them, always smiling. "This is where he feeds," Evan said, his voice shaking. I swallowed. I realized then, every mirror, every screen, every reflection I'd seen wasn't random. It was a web, and I had stepped into the center. I looked at Evan. He shook his head. "We have to move, or he'll trap you next." I nodded, heart hammering. The kidnapper's presence was all around us now, filling the cabin, the mirrors, even the fog beyond the walls. And then I saw it, a single reflection of myself, standing in the middle of the cabin. It smiled and raised an umbrella. The cabin was alive, every mirror pulsed, not light, not reflection, something breathing. Beneath the glass, behind the surfaces, I could feel it pressing in, heavy and patient. The kidnapper's presence everywhere at once, humming that dizzying, nauseous tune. The umbrella tapping softly, rhythmically, calling attention to every heartbeat. Evan grabbed my arm. "We need to move now, before he locks us in." I nodded, chest tight. The mirrors stretched the room, elongating the walls, multiplying reflections, each reflection a version of us, some twisted, some screaming, some frozen in terror. We ran. The floor beneath us rippled like water, branches and puddles forming under our feet. Every mirror we passed showed a different path, left, right, nowhere, straight. I didn't know which was real. A reflection of myself lunged from the glass. I jumped back, colliding with a table. The sound echoed. Unnaturally, Evan pulled me up, whispering, "Don't stop. Don't think. Just go." The kidnapper appeared behind another mirror, tapping the umbrella against the surface. "Can't you see me?" The voice reverberated inside my skull. "Smile." I shook my head violently. Evan shoved me forward. The cabin started to collapse. Mirrors cracked, splintered, shattering into impossible angles. The ceiling bent like water, dripping shadows down onto us. I saw reflections of places I had never been, streets, houses, empty alleys, all under the same gray, twisted sky of Sycamore Falls. A mirror shattered beneath my foot. I fell through it. For a second, I was weightless, floating between images, between moments. Then I hit the ground. Hard. Evan was there, holding out his hand. I took it without thinking. We ran toward the faint glow, the exit. The air thickened with cold fog, and the hum became a scream, not high-pitched, not human. Something in the static, the broken glass, vibrating the very air around us. We reached a door, small, wooden, with a single window. Light shone through it. It was the first thing that looked real in hours. I pushed it open. Sunlight spilled across our faces, and we stepped out, into my apartment. The walls were intact, the sofa in place, The TV off, everything normal. Except for the mirror across the room. I froze. It wasn't reflecting me. It wasn't reflecting Evan. It showed the cabin, the mirrors, the kidnapper, umbrella tapping. He smiled. I stepped closer. Evan grabbed my shoulder. Don't. The mirror rippled. The kidnapper whispered, "You can leave, Jake." But this isn't over. I stepped back. Heart hammering. Then the reflection fractured into numbers, a countdown, red, slowly decreasing. 10. 9. 8. I looked away. The hum lingered, and I realized the apartment was no longer mine. It was part of him. I ran to the TV, remembering Morgan, remembering the warnings. I turned it on. Static at first, then a flicker. Morgan appeared, his voice urgent, frantic, desperate. "Jake, trust me. Follow the numbers. Do exactly as I say." I stared at the screen. The numbers in the mirror were moving faster. 7, 6, 5. The kidnapper laughed softly behind me from the reflection. I turned back toward the mirror. Morgan shouted, "Now." I blinked and acted. The mirror pulsed, red numbers counting down. The hum, now a roar, vibrating through the walls, under the floor, through my bones. I stared. 7, 6, 5. Evan was gone. I was alone. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Then the air shifted, cold, heavy, malicious. I felt it behind me, inside me. The kidnapper. It didn't enter the room. It was the room. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. The mirror twisted, bending as if it had muscles. And then I saw him. Thweep. Or whatever it truly was. The crooked, impossible clown, standing inside the mirror, umbrella tapping lightly. Its face shifted, like paper in water. Outlines trembling, eyes hollow windows, doorway of a mouth twisting wider. "Can't you see me?" it whispered. Smile. I did not. The numbers dropped faster. 4, 3. I backed away toward the TV, fingers trembling over the buttons. "Don't listen." The echo of Morgan's voice rang in my head, overlapping with the kidnapper's hum. I turned the TV on. Static, then a flicker. Morgan appeared, pale and urgent. "You have to act, Jake. Don't obey it. The numbers aren't real, they're traps." The mirror shimmered. 1. I took a deep breath. The kidnapper lunged through the reflection, umbrella aimed at my chest, but I didn't flinch. I didn't look. I slammed the TV off. The room went dark for a heartbeat when the lights returned. The mirror was blank, the numbers gone, the kidnapper gone. I sank to the floor, heart racing, lungs burning. Morgan's voice echoed faintly from the TV, soft and distant. "Remember, never obey. Not him. Not anyone who shows up like him." I didn't know if Evan was safe. I didn't know if the kidnapper was gone for good. All I knew, I was alive. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, and on the bathroom mirror, written in a crimson that hadn't been there before, the words I would never forget. "Can't you see me? Aren't you smiling?" I stepped back, and for the first time, I understood. It wasn't over. Not ever. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I sat on the edge of the sofa, staring at the floor. My hands shook. My lungs burned. Every breath felt borrowed. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had happened. Cars passing, lights flickering, distant voices. The world was oblivious to what had just brushed against me, almost claimed me. I looked at the mirror. It was clean, ordinary, reflecting only the dim light of my ceiling, and yet I didn't trust it. I didn't dare look. I checked the TV, off. Silent. No static. No faces. No messages. I lit a cigarette, smoked slowly, trying to convince myself it was over, but the words lingered. In my mind, in the shadows, in the back of every reflection I glimpsed. Can't you see me? Aren't you smiling? I avoided mirrors for weeks. Windows, shiny floors, even puddles. I never looked directly. I left lights on. I never walked the alleys again. Sometimes at night, I'd hear a faint hum. So I thought it was wind. So high pitched I thought it was tinnitus. And sometimes I would catch a glimpse. A crooked smile in a reflective surface, a tap of an umbrella in the distance, just out of reach. John and Jane never contacted me again. Evan's fate remained a question I didn't want to answer, and yet I knew this. The kidnapper was patient. It didn't need to chase. It only needed to wait. To watch. To whisper. To remind me and anyone else who might stumble into its path. I never smiled in front of mirrors again, and sometimes, when I thought I was safe, I still hear it humming just beyond the corner of my vision. Can't you see me? Aren't you smiling? I write this as a warning. If you ever encounter a reflection that feels alive. A creature that tells you to obey. Do not obey, because you may not get a second chance.